Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. Sam and Doug get ready to tackle the fuel system on the Alpha 1 GTO. The new system includes an upgraded fuel pump and filter with a return. All of the plumbing will consist of braided lines and AN fittings, providing reliability and longevity.
Doug and I are at the portion where it smells the most during the build, and that's the fuel system. Now, luckily, you had about 5 gallons of fuel in this tank, and therefore the tank itself was in good condition, the fuel wasn't too tarnished, and we're going to be reusing the factory tank. It's got a feed and return, uses gravity to feed the fuel system that's right here on the back of the car. It's all contained in one unit, so we're going to remove that and put in a Holley 450 liter per hour and a GM fuel pressure regulator with the return incorporated in it. It's going to give us 58 psi of fuel.
Yeah, and Sam, we're real fortunate. The way everything looks here, it's going to be real easy to get to, especially since we've added all of these new wonderful looking billet parts. It's going to be easy. Running the line should be super. This should be one of the easier things that we have to tackle on this build.
Hopefully. So what Doug and I are doing is we took the factory pump off the plate that bolts up to the car, and we went to the drill press and we drilled 4 new holes because we got lucky and our Holley pump fits perfectly in that plate, and still gives us access to the 410s so we can bolt it back onto the car.
And when you're putting all of this together, the nicest way to do it is you have a transfer punch set. So you can go ahead and go right through the hole here, center it all up, do your punches all the way through it, go take to the drill press, drill it, and then everything just lines up as slick as can be, and you're in great shape.
We got the new Holley fuel pump installed onto the factory OEM mounting bracket. All we got to do now is install it in the car, but we don't have room for the original hardware. We're going to be using aftermarket cap screws, and we don't have room for the lock washer, so we're going to be using thread lock.
Yeah, the last thing we want, Sam, is for this thing to come loose. So the thread lock's going to make sure it's insured, holding it in place.
So I'm going to be using an AN fitting to make our hose ends, and this particular fitting is a -890. It's very expensive, so you want to make sure to protect your investment by putting a little bit of tape onto where the wrench is going to contact. Put a little lube on the threads, that way you got no binding because it is aluminum, and then you can get ready to screw it into the hose.
Yeah, and the other thing is make sure you use blues tape or painter's tape because the adhesive comes off real easy. If you were to use something with real strong adhesive, it's a real bugger to get it all apart.
Now what we're doing here is we're tying up the fuel line to the factory lines that go up to the car that's bracketed onto the bottom of the car. You're probably wondering why I'm using zip ties. These hold 40 pounds, okay? And what I can do with the zip ties, I can take it and run it along the metal line, but then I put a piece in between the zip ties, separating it from the metal. Therefore, the rubber line that we're running from the fuel to the front is going to be completely isolated, even though it's strapped to the metal lines going up front. All you gotta do is put a zip tie like this around your component. Take another zip tie like this. And you're creating a loop on both sides, right? When you tighten it, it's a separation. You got a hose going this way, and you got a hose going in that hole. And it keeps it away from the other component that you're strapped to. Well, that went pretty well. We got the fuel system in the car. We used a GM style fuel filter, which has a built-in regulator to it. All we have to do now is Y off at the rails and we should be good to go.
Yeah, you know, the nice thing about it all is the more original bracketry that we can use. We transfer hole the punches. The lines were easy to run. It made it simple. So now we're really ready to move on to the next step.
And you really want to make sure to tie up those lines well because we are dealing with fuel.